Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're a London property owner, a property manager, or a letting agent, you already know the unique, highly specific panic of an impending move-in day. The clock is literally ticking, your tenant is packing their boxes, and you're desperately trying to figure out if your compliance paperwork is actually up to date. Well, today, we're going to turn that stressful last-minute scramble into a highly structured, foolproof strategy. We are talking about the ultimate guide to London landlord compliance and your pre-tenancy checklist.
I want to start by asking you a really direct question. Before your next tenancy, renewal, or council inspection, are your landlord certificates actually properly in order? And I don't mean just roughly in order. I don't mean assumed to be valid just because you had someone look at the property a couple of years ago. I mean, are they current, accurate, and ready to send the absolute second a letting agent or local authority asks for them? Or are they kind of just buried in some old email inbox somewhere, sitting right next to a 2018 gym membership renewal you swore you'd use and a giant pile of outdated takeout menus?
Okay, let's dive into this. The reason landlord compliance gets so incredibly stressful is actually pretty simple. It's usually highly fragmented. Relying on a fragmented system, where you're bouncing between one contractor for gas checks, an entirely different company for electrics, and maybe a third for fire safety, it just creates absolute chaos right when you need things to be smooth. Think about the real-world cost here. The worst possible moment to try and piece together scattered PDFs and incomplete council files is exactly when your tenant's deposit is sorted and they are just waiting for the keys. A delay there means void periods, lost rental income, and super frustrated tenants. Now compare that totally chaotic approach to planned compliance, using one provider, keeping all your digital evidence centralized, and enjoying perfectly smooth handovers where you're always completely ready for move-in day.
To get us to that centralized planned state, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The fragmented compliance problem. 2. Identifying your property needs. 3. The booking process. 4. A real-world moving day scenario. 5. Common pre-tenancy mistakes. And finally, 6. The benefits of planned compliance.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the fragmented compliance problem. The core of this issue almost always boils down to simple paperwork gaps that just snowball into massive logistical nightmares. Picture this. You've got a great new tenancy lined up, but because you used multiple contractors for different checks over the years, the letting agent suddenly asks for everything at once, and you completely freeze. You start frantically searching for lost PDFs. You're awkwardly emailing contractors, practically begging them to resend old paperwork from 2 years ago. Your council files sit there incomplete, and the ultimate result? Delayed tenant viewings, pushed back move-ins, and a frankly terrible first impression for your new renter. Listen, you simply cannot build a reliable compliance system in a blind panic when the tenant's moving van is literally idling at the front door.
Which brings us right to Section 2, identifying your property needs. Now, what's really interesting about this is that we need a complete paradigm shift. A certificate isn't just some annoying PDF you scramble to find in an emergency just to tick a box. It's proactive risk management. It's undeniable legal proof that you, as a responsible landlord, acted before a problem became a complaint, before a faulty wire became a massive enforcement issue, or before a missing document delayed a really lucrative tenancy. Treating compliance as a shield rather than a chore totally changes how you manage your entire portfolio.
Think of this like a mental map to figure out exactly what your property actually needs before you even pick up the phone. First, what's the property type? Are we talking a standard single slet, a multi-tenant HMO, a full block of flats, or maybe a mixed-use commercial space? Next, look at the internal systems. Do you have a gas boiler? Are there provided appliances that need PAT testing? Are there communal corridors with really specific fire safety needs? And finally, what is the trigger for the check? Are you starting a brand new tenancy, dealing with a random council licensing audit, or maybe prepping for a refinance? Your specific mix of property type, internal systems, and that trigger completely dictates whether you need a standard gas safety certificate, a comprehensive EICR for electrics, an EPC, or a full-blown fire risk assessment.
Moving right along to Section 3, the 4-step booking process.
Let's break down the structural solution to all of this. Streamlined services bring your gas, electrical, fire, and boiler checks into one ridiculously clear, practical route. Step 1, you just reach out with your full property details and your deadline. Step 2, you get a confirmed quote and are matched with the right qualified engineer. Step 3, the inspection actually happens. And this part is absolutely vital. If defects are found, the inspection identifies remedial actions right then and there, which totally prevents a second panicked emergency call out a week later. Step 4, you receive your digital certificate, a comprehensive report, or super clear follow-up recommendation. It takes a scattered list of frantic questions and turns them into one single working appointment.
This is exactly why a brand like Landlord Property Certificates is basically becoming the gold standard for London properties. It completely eliminates the need to bounce around between completely unrelated suppliers. If you need safety inspections, certificates, and compliance services without the massive headache, utilizing a single point of contact solution is honestly the only way to keep your sanity intact and protect your investment.
Let's see what this looks like in practice with Section 4, a real-world moving day scenario. Imagine you've just spent weeks fully refurbishing a gorgeous Victorian flat over in Camden, and you need it documented, legally compliant, and ready for a strict Monday morning move-in. Let's move through the timeline and see how this actually builds when you use a planned system. Day 1, you gather up the address, tenant access details, and your hard deadlines. Day 2, instead of frantically calling 4 different local companies and praying their schedules align, you make one single contact to Landlord Property Certificates for a coordinated plan. Day 3, the single or combined inspections take place at the property, smooth as can be. And by day 4, you receive the usable digital evidence straight into your tenancy file. The emotional relief here is just huge. You've gone from that familiar, chest-tightening pre-tenancy panic to having a totally solid plan and coordinated inspections, all with days to spare before the tenant even arrives.
Now, for Section 5, common pre-tenancy mistakes.
Even with the best tools, human error is definitely a thing. A professional landlord does not wait for a tenant complaint to find out what's missing from their file. Yet we see these pitfalls constantly. Waiting until the tenant is literally packing the moving van to check certificates? That's a classic. How about assuming an old certificate is still valid without actually checking the expiration date? Big mistake. Or completely ignoring changes to the property, like adding new appliances or converting a standard let into an HMO, which entirely rewrites your legal requirements. Another massive error is treating an unsatisfactory safety report as just an annoying piece of paperwork instead of a vital, urgent safety action plan. And finally, the worst offender, saving critical legal documents in scattered, totally unorganized email threads.
Sir, the crucial point here, and if you take nothing else away from this explainer, remember this. The easiest compliance problem to solve is the one you handled before the deadline. Moving away from reactive, fear-based panic and toward planned, proactive compliance. That is the ultimate goal here.
Which brings us to our final section, the benefits of planned compliance.
When you get this right, 5 distinct elements perfectly balance out your property management strategy. First, pristine move-in readiness, meaning the property generates income exactly when it's supposed to. Second, a completely clean agent handover, which cuts out all those repeated phone calls and unnecessary site visits. Third, you dramatically boost tenant confidence by quickly sharing safety evidence. It sets a tone of high professionalism and trust right out of the gate. Fourth, you easily manage your digital evidence across all your London properties without ever digging through a filing cabinet again. And fifth, you avoid last-minute delays, so you're not just dodging today's crisis, but making sure you're totally prepared for the next renewal cycle too. It literally all boils down to one simple number. 1. You only need one supplier to handle your CP12s, your EICRs, your EPCs, your PAT testing, and all your remedial support anywhere in London and within the M25. One single centralized brand to completely shoulder that heavy administrative burden for you. All right, so here is your final, deeply calming checklist. The very next time you're prepping a property, don't scramble. Before you market the flat or promise anyone the keys, just send over your property address, the London postcode, the specific service you require, the access details, and your deadline. Seriously, that's the whole shebang. Let the centralized system handle the heavy lifting, ensuring you remain safe, fully documented, and legally ready to let.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to really chew on. Will your property file be legally ready to let before the deadline becomes a very real, very costly emergency? If you keep a centralized strategy like Landlord Property Certificates in your playbook, the answer is always going to be yes. Thanks so much for exploring this structured approach with me today.